Hey, 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 happy holidays. Come on in, pull up a chair. Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. So, welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, December 5th, 2022. This is live stream 859. This is your first time joining me, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a look at a tabletop game. And tonight's no different because we're going to dive in and take a first look at Tome of Beasts III Lairs from Kobold Press. And of course, this is for 5e D&D. So it's kind of a D&D day around here because you may have noticed my review for Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen popped this morning. So if you have not checked that out, be sure to give it a peek. Of course, should also mention that when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com. For all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel, such as the new reviews of Pathfinder and Starfinder releases from Sammy Uhas, right? One of our contributors over at the Gaming Gang. So yes, there is that. Should mention, if you are tuning in to check out Lairs, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So that means it'll probably be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we jump on in. So if you're watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax, enjoy. It's been a long Monday, I'm sure. If you're watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream has ended, well, you can actually utilize the timestamps and jump past the news if you'd like. Although we've got some cool news tonight. And depending on the device you happen to be using, those timestamps might actually be right there in the timeline of the video that you are watching now. So you don't have to go searching for the timestamps in the show notes. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. Not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say hi, if you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something about Tome of Beasts III Lairs that you'd like to get a closer look at, by all means, chime in and I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman. That's right. The Madman himself is first out the gate. We've got Coco B. It is minus 31 Celsius wind chill where they're at. Yikes. But they did receive their Blade Runner Kickstarter from Free League Publishing, so that's cool. Tessie Trekkies with us. They have pizza, they have beer, they have the Gaming Gang Dispatch. All is right with the world, according to them. Jesus Navas here. Kathy Evans, Flaming Huron, is with us, as is Doug Roberts. So we've got chat off and running very nicely already. Sweet. Let's dive right on into the news because hitting stores later this month, from Daily Magic Games is Siege of Valeria. Here's what I know. Do you have what it takes to defend Valeria? For more than a month, the Monster Kin has surrounded your fortress at Valeria's southern border with hordes of monsters and mighty engines of war. Your supplies are nearly exhausted, but you've rallied your soldiers and holy troops to meet the foe's latest surge. If you cannot break the siege in 7 days, your fortress will fall and the southern border will crumble. Siege of Valeria is a quick playing survival game that tasks players with defending their castle from wave after wave of monstrous enemies. You'll use cards and dice to defeat the assault, and it is vital that you find clever ways to combo your powers. This game includes custom dice and artwork provided by the Miko. As with most Valeria games, Siege of Valeria, once again, is a solitaire game. It's for ages 10 and up, plays in around 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $30 when it arrives on December 28th. Sweet! Very nice. Gotta say, I've enjoyed the Valeria games that I have had an opportunity to check out over the years. Now, there's actually a slate of Valeria games that are arriving later this month. I think there's 3 overall, and they are all kind of smaller footprint games because they kickstarted all at kind of the same time. So, Testy Trekkie says the tower defense game on the tabletop. Is that sarcasm, Testy Trekkie? The werewolf is with us in chat as well. Moving right along, a fresh skirmish level miniatures game is arriving later this month from Osprey Games. Here's the skinny on Pulp with an exclamation point. A set of wargame rules covering heroic adventure and dastardly villains during the early 20th century. Enter a world of perilous adventure and explore steaming jungles, desert canyons, and Arctic wastes. Brave the perils of nature and discover lost ruins, ancient treasures, and the secrets of forgotten civilizations. Race against rival adventurers and face off against diabolical villains. Take to the city streets and fight back against gangsters, spies, and sinister cults. Pulp is a scenario-driven skirmish wargame set during the interwar years of the early 20th century. Players build teams of bold explorers, daring archaeologists, hard-boiled detectives, and costumed avengers, or criminal masterminds and evil geniuses, and dive into a world of fortune, glory, and menace. Suitable for both solo and cooperative play, as well as the classic head-to-head mode. Pulp contains all the rules needed to game globe-trotting escapades in this rip-roaring era. Yes. So, no mention of the white man's burden? Although, I would say that's probably more Victorian age than the 1920s through, like, early 1940s. But whenever I see stuff like this, I'm like, yeah. I mean, not that I'm saying anything bad about this. I'm saying that whole, like, pulp era, little tricky there. Little tricky. Disavowed 92 is with us, as is Boris. Welcome aboard. We've got chat off and running. So wheat. All right. So there was a big news piece popped up. I think it was last Friday or Saturday. Cephalofair Games has revealed the upcoming Gloomhaven role-playing game. That's right. And here's the scoop from Isaac Childress. Cephalofair Games, crowdfunding publisher of the record-breaking board games Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, Pat on the back there, eh? Is pleased to announce our latest project set in the same high fantasy, high strategy world we all love. Last year, Cephalofair announced plans to crowdfund a fantasy miniatures line to complement our catalog of board games, providing highly detailed sculpts for each of our in game enemies, bosses, and summonable creatures, typically represented by 2D cardboard standees and tokens. Now we're excited to reveal that we're planning so much more than just miniatures with our brand new product, Gloomhaven, the role playing game. Unlike other RPG systems reliant on dice and set character build structures, Gloomhaven, the role playing game, will continue to uphold one of Cephalofair's core mission statements to minimize randomness and reward player savvy. This is the Gloomhaven role playing game, which takes the Gloomhaven world and puts it in your hands, the hands of a Gloom Master. I don't know how I feel about that. Could stay with Game Master. Come on. We're giving you the tools and the lore to create your own stories in Gloomhaven and the surrounding world. They'll be available right alongside the miniatures in April 2023. That's not really true, though. They're not going to be available because the miniatures aren't going to be available. The Kickstarter, or I shouldn't say that. I think it's backer kits that this is going to be on, is going to kick off in April. So, I don't know. We're creating a robust skill system that makes interacting with this newly expanded world and uncovering its mysteries always engaging. And when you run across a situation that can only be resolved with weapons, well, Gloomhaven combat system will still be there to make sure that it's always interesting as well. But this just isn't the board game with a GM. First of all, we've opened up all the playing field to allow for any class and ancestry combination. You can be an Inex Spellweaver, an Orchid Cragheart, or anything else. And both classes and ancestries have their own set of cards so that you can create a truly unique ability set. And this newly developed system integrates card management into the role playing experience. That's right, we've added a third skill check action to these cards, which lets you perform great feats out of combat, but also opens up a new dimension in combat, letting you swing from chandeliers, kick through walls, or even convince the bad guys to stop fighting. Once again, Gloomhaven, the role playing game, is going to crowdfund beginning in April. So, some questions here about Gloomhaven, the board game, if it's worth playing. I would say it's worth playing. I would also say that it is for a particular sort of player. That I have heard many stories of people who have picked up the board game after hearing everybody say, "Oh my God, this is fantastic. This is amazing. You got to get this." And they picked it up and they were completely lost. And the game really never got played. So that is one of the reasons why Cephalofair released, what is it, Jaws of the Lion? Isn't that what it's called? Something along those lines? That it's sort of an introductory game to see if Gloomhaven's going to be with you. I don't want to say be like a dummied down Gloomhaven, but I thought it's kind of an introductory. Jaws the Lion. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Man. So, yes, Gloomhaven role-playing game. Flaming Heron says, can't speak for the board game, but the PC game is okay. Actually, I play that. Not a ton. And you know I've got Gloomhaven. I did an unboxing. I actually picked it up last year. It was there was a special on Black Friday on Amazon, so I bit the bullet and bought it. And I gotta be honest, I have not gotten it to the table at all. So one day, it's on my bucket list right now. So, of course, as more details about Gloomhaven, the role playing game, become available, I will definitely share them with you. Speaking of more role playing game news, there's an all new edition of the Cepheus engine, which has arrived. It is that science fiction role playing game from Menagerie Publishing and Stellagama Publishing. I've got the details on Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition. Starships riding fire across the sky, heroes and villains exchanging laser fire, desperate spacers struggling against an alien monstrosity, vast planetary vistas, flying cities, moonscapes, mad robots, and first encounters. In short, high action science fiction adventure that stimulates your sense of wonder. Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition puts you in the shoes of an adventurer visiting distant stars and encountering the unknown. Whether you are a seasoned player looking for a rules light game or a new gamer wanting to experience what science fiction role playing games are all about, Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition opens your way forward. Cepheus Deluxe is a set of rules for playing classic science fiction games. It includes rules on creating characters, resolving actions, fighting other creatures, and engaging in space battles, generating worlds, handling the risks of interstellar speculative trading, exploring new worlds, and many other activities. While designed for fast, action packed play rather than an accurate simulation of reality, Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition encompasses a wide variety of rules and materials for building a science fiction universe and playing in it. Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition draws its inspiration from old school science fiction role playing games. It shares many similarities with these games. Material from older rule sets and those created with Cepheus Deluxe Enhanced Edition, the old Cepheus Light, the Cepheus Engine Core, and old school sci fi role playing games are easily compatible with only a moderate amount of adjustment. The 217-page PDF is available right now at DriveThruRPG for $9.99. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Cepheus kind of the retro clone of Traveler? It's a D6 based system. I thought that was the. So, Tessie Trekkie asks the exact same question in chat. Cheers. Great minds think alike. Flaming Heron says, yep, their understanding is it is. I thought it is. I know this kickstarted. This was actually a successful Kickstarter. So, Coco B is commenting about the festive mug. Yes, it is a holiday mug. So, Coco B points out no one's home. So, they get to actually watch the dispatch live on a big screen. Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Christopher Rush is with us. I don't think I said hello to Christopher. As is Melwinius from York. So, nice chat. Off and running tonight. So, one final news piece. Speaking of venerable role-playing games, there is a new edition of Rolemaster that has been released from Iron Crown Enterprises. Here's the scoop. For over 4 decades, Rolemaster has been the definitive fantasy role-playing game that combines realism and depth without sacrificing playability. I would maybe argue that point. Rolemaster United is the next evolution, drawing upon the best elements of previous editions to create a streamlined and consistent game. Rolemaster Core Law is the cornerstone of Rolemaster Unified. Rollmaster Core Law is divided into, excuse me, 3 parts. There is Character Law, a wide range of character creation choices, 22 professions, 23 races, 10 cultures, and a comprehensive system of talents and flaws. A system of 10 temporary and potential stats determined by using both assigned and random elements. A skill development system that allows a character to improve their skill capabilities without absolute restrictions. Complete, consolidated, and streamlined guidelines for resolving actions, magic, and attacks. There's also Arms Law, the highly acclaimed combat system. Complete rules for melee, ranged, and spell combat, with new effective mechanics for battling large and small monsters. 39 attack tables for weapons, animal, monstrous, and spell attacks. 15 critical strike tables: acid, cold, electricity, grapple, heat, holy, impact, crush, puncture, stash. I should say slash, steam, strikes, subdual sweeps, and unbalance, providing injuries with explicit effects and descriptions. Then there is Game Master Law, helpful guidance on running the game with rules for healing, social skills, fear, and morale, as well as environmental hazards, poisons, and diseases. Rules and guidance on creating races, cultures, and professions using the fully balanced mechanics employed across Rollmaster United. The 287-page PDF is available at DriveThruRPG for $25. And this is all I had available to show you is the cover. So, I did have actually Iron Crown reach out to me. I have to get back to them. But they offered me to take a look at the previous edition of Rune Master. And unfortunately, Iron Crown had moved into the whole, it's not necessarily AI art, but you've seen it in like real low budget games where it's computer art, but it's pretty god awful. And unfortunately, that was the case that I was seeing there. And I was like, I'm going to have to, if I do a review, I'm going to have to rip on that. Plus, I think it was only in PDF. So I actually have a story about Rollmaster from way back in the day. We picked this up. We picked up Arms Law when it first came out. And I just saw, who was it just commented with all the testy trekkie, 39 attack tables, 15 critical tables, 22 classes, 69 points of sanity loss. Mr. Eddie T and Sarah D are hanging out with us in chat as well. So is Perkins Dearborn, just popped in. So anyway, picked it up. We were like, wow, this is so cool, because it actually is. Now, I don't know as far as the actual role-playing game, because at this point in time, when it first came out, when Arms Law came out, Claw Law, which was for monsters and animals and things like that, and then there was also Spell Law. So those were the 3. They were supposed to be used as a supplement to whatever fantasy role-playing game you were using, say AD&D. And like I said, it was like really cool because we were like, oh wow. So like these are the effects of using a morning star. And you're like, oh sweet. Then you'd have like, okay, so that's crushing damage. Oh, excellent. And then hey, there's the critical table and blah blah blah. And it was just so clunky in execution. Now, ICE had also produced the Middle Earth role-playing game, which was fairly popular back in the day and pretty well written. And it was more of the Rollmaster Light kind of approach to the mechanics and everything. So I know that was popular. I had it. I never ran it. Yes, another one of those games I owned, and I owned a bunch of stuff, but I never ran it. So, um, so the madman's talking about watching what you say. Apparently, you can't retweet negative comments about Twitter's owner, or you get permanently suspended. Yeah, I heard about that. Should also point out that I do have a Tumblr account. Probably January 1st, I will roll out an Instagram account. Oh, I don't know. I mean, Instagram stories, but basically all I ever do is post like the news pieces and reviews and things like that pop up. So Perkins says maximum melee crunch mechanics from Iron Crown Enterprises. Oh yeah, I mean, some people love it. I haven't, like I said, I haven't looked at Rollmaster in years. So I have no idea. So Tessie Trekkie says they used AI art for a cyberpunk zine they're working on. It works well graphically. I have heard from people more like I've seen tweets on the tweeter saying that people, particular people saying they will not buy a product if it features AI art. I think that's a little harsh, but Balwinia says they played Rollmaster back then. Remember reading a lot of stuff from tables during having a fight, like hours. Yes, it was, like I said, it was just clunky. It was super cool, but it was clunky. And it wasn't a book either when it first came out. It was like, relatively heavy cardstock tables that I remember we used hole punches so we could put them into a binder, and the binder was like massive, which didn't make it any easier. So I will probably get a chance to take a peek at this. It's not out in print, so until it comes out in print, you won't see a review or anything. But I am kind of curious because they do talk in the sell sheet info about how this is streamlined. William Hell Has Eyes is with us in chat. We got a really nice chat going tonight. Not that it's not always nice. I'm just saying we have quite a few people here. All righty. That is it for tonight's news. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banner ads, which is usually for DriveThruRPG. And of course, that way, any purchase you might happen to make, I get a tiny portion of that sale. And if you are visiting, say, DM's Guild, you can go to DriveThruRPG through our banner ad and then just look to the lower left, click on Dungeon Masters Guild. It'll take you there and it'll still hold our affiliate code. So that's important to keep in mind as well. Of course, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing over to paypal.me/gaminggang and making a small donation. As did the madman today, and it wasn't a small donation. Thank you very kindly. Much appreciated. So thankfully, we've got enough folks out there who use the banner ads, hop over to paypal.me on occasion. So thank you. Thank you very much. So, oh, and then I should also point out I still have like 130 used games for sale. So if you want to take a peek to see what's still available, you can swing on over to thegaminggang.com and you'll notice that there is a little ad that says used games for sale. So, all right. That is it for the news tonight. So if you tuned in a little late, I was talking about how my review of Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen went live this morning. So I also reveal the two winners of both the standard edition as well as the friendly local game store edition. Because I ended up with 3 copies of the adventure book. So I don't need 3 copies. Figure just keep one. Usually I keep the standard edition and give away the uh, alternate art edition. But one of the alternate art editions came with the deluxe edition, which kind of goes together with the Warriors of Krynn board game. So I was like, oh, okay. So let's see. Flaming Heron says that they don't leave reviews. I believe that's what that is. Often enough. But they make sure to tell developers that they know that the gaming gang was what made me interested in their games. Thank you. That is an excellent way. And I've mentioned that before too. That is a fantastic way to help spread the word about the gaming gang. Because we've talked about it before. There are so many outlets out there tackling, especially board games, which you may have noticed. I shared an announcement about the future of the gaming gang. I don't know if you had a chance to check that out yet. I will not ruin what the announcement was, but I thought it was kind of funny. People were commenting, they were like, "Oh man, I was worried." Like, and I'm thinking to myself, but the thumbnail for it, I'm sitting there with a big smile. If it was something bad, well, for some people, I guess it might be bad. But I mean, if it was like bad news or something, I wouldn't have been like, eh. William asks, do I have any good gaming stores by me? I have one. It's about 25 minutes away. In fact, I went over, this is a few years ago, and I did an interview with the owner, just audio interview when I first got out to where I'm at now. Just gosh, now it's like it's got to be like 7 years ago or something now. And they were nice enough in that, and the place was very, very, very nice inside. So it was a relatively new game store, and they had like private rooms for you to game in, which were very cool. Only problem I had was they would not allow you to bring any outside food or beverage inside. You had to purchase it from them. And a can of Coke was like 250. And I was like, come on, really? You're already charging people for the room. I mean, in some ways I could kind of see it, but I don't know. So, some discussion about who's got good gaming stores near them and who don't. There are far more gaming stores now than there were 10 years ago. I'll tell you that much. So, a bit of a discussion about Dragon Magazine. I think I've mentioned before, I've got all of them in PDF. So, and the funny thing is, I've probably read since originally reading Dungeon Magazine when I was in high school for a couple of years. I think I've probably read maybe 10 issues since then. I have all of Dragon, I have all of Dungeon as well, electronically. So, but I know some people are, oh man, Dragon and Dungeon had some really great adventures. they were kind of few and far between. I mean, there was some real crap, but it was interesting. And I always liked Phineas Fingers. God, I haven't thought of that in a long time. You know, Phineas Fingers. And then we also had What's New with, wasn't it Phil and Dixie? Huh. I think that's what it was. Because it was a Phil Foglio comic strip that he did. I think it was called What's New with Phil and Dixie. Alrighty. Anyway, we are going to dive on into Tome of Beasts 3 Lairs in just a few moments. But as Coco B points out, they loved Wormy. I remember Wormy, but I don't remember it being in a lot of issues. Just like Phineas Fingers was only in maybe 50 issues tops. And that was a pretty rough looking comic early on. Let's be honest. But it was. I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, so we're going to be taking a look at Lairs in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a not as brief intermission.
The annual Nabisco Cereal Toy Roundup Contest.
Here's your chance to win a raid on a gigantic toy department.
And every toy you take is yours. Free.
Why, just imagine. In a short time, you may be a winner. Turned loose in a fabulous toy department. Here's every toy you've ever wanted. Bikes, dolls, boats, planes, all kinds of sporting equipment. Games galore. First prize winner gets 5 minutes to round up all his favorite toys. Second prize winner, 4 minutes. Third prize winner, 3 minutes. There will be 9 winners. A first, second, and third prize winner for each of the 3 regions of the country. Winners and their families will receive an all-expense trip to one of these department stores. Jordan Marsh and Company, Boston. Carson Peary Scott and Company, Chicago. Bon Marché, Seattle.
In addition, more than 1,000 other boys and girls will win. Prizes like Lionel passenger train sets, Benrus wristwatches, Columbia bikes, RCA Victor 3-speed phonographs, and Ren 1010 record albums. Now, here's how to win, and it's easy.
Just name my pony.
That's all. Just name Rusty's pony and you can win.
Next, tear off the box top from any Nabisco cereal. Nabisco Shredded Wheat, Nabisco Shredded Wheat Juniors, Nabisco Wheat Honeys, Nabisco Rice Honeys, or Nabisco 100% brand. On the box top, print the name of the pony, your own name and address, age, and state whether boy or girl. Mail to Rusty, Box 1, Brooklyn 1, New York. That's Rusty, Box 1, Brooklyn 1, New York.
And as many times as you wish. But hurry, contest closes November 11th.
Want some milk and coffee with your dinner? No, give me some water. People like that need brainwashing.
The management of this theater wishes to take this opportunity to thank you for your valued patronage during the past year and to wish you a most happy and prosperous new year. And now let's all join in a spirit of good fellowship and welcome the new year with Auld Lang Syne. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of Auld Lang Syne?
Wow, that New Year's Theater ad 1935. Nearly 100 years old. Well, more than 80 years old. So, we can deconstruct a couple of those commercials. Number one, yes, Barbie, and it's like the end of the commercial shows the dark-haired Barbie in a wedding dress. And if you listen to the song that's being sung, it's like, oh, until I grow up, I'll pretend I'm Barbie. So it's like, little girl that's just, the only goal that girl has is to get married. How 50s was that? And then your Nabisco toy giveaway was actually from the Adventures of Rin Tin Tin. Because they even mentioned Rin Tin Tin in it. And sorry to say, not to go off on a downer here, but the kid in that show, I think his name in the show was Rusty or something like that, died homeless in Mesa, Arizona. It's like he didn't have enough money to pay for the burial. So William says the dog couldn't make the ad. Funny enough, it was played off that Rin Tin Tin was the dog in the Adventures of Rin Tin Tin. Well, it was like Rin Tin Tin the Fourth, because the original Rin Tin Tin was around like in the late 19 teens, and I think passed away like in the early 30s or something like that. So it was supposed to be Rin Tin Tin the Fourth, but the dog wouldn't behave on set, and it was just wouldn't do what they wanted it to do. So they actually used a different dog and said it was Rin Tin Tin the Fourth. I know. I always have these little goofy ass trivia bits rattling around in my head. So William says that's terrible. The kid grew up to be homeless. Hey, look at what happened to child actors from the 30s through the 60s. It is not pretty. So Perkins says, wasn't Rin Tin Tin a veteran of the First World War? Yes. He was actually found by an American in Germany. So the dog was actually German, if I remember correctly. Well, it was a German Shepherd. There you go. HR Huffin Stuff. Or was it Puffin? Yeah, you're right. Huffin Stuff. God, that's another show I haven't thought of in a while. All righty then. So, yes, William points out the kid who was in that did not have an easy life. A lot of times, we're not going to get into a whole lot of detail, but a lot of times what you'd find these child stars, they got older and they weren't as appealing anymore, and nobody wanted to hire them. And of course, they had been used to, their shit didn't stink. So they're used to people waiting on them hand and foot and getting whatever they wanted. And they couldn't handle it. So many of them turned to drugs. And that started the downward spiral for many of them. And that happens to adult stars too. So, all right. So moving right along. Tonight, I am going to take a first look and page through Tome of Beasts III, Lairs from Kobold Press. Of course, this is 5e D&D. The 162-page hardcover is available right now for an MSRP of $39.99. You can grab the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Flaming Heron says Child Stars gone off the rails sounds like the usual thing that happens. It happens far too often, unfortunately. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Tome of Beasts III, Lairs from Kobold Press. So a few things I do want to mention before we dive on in. First off, the fine folks over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. Also, I'm going to be up here. So as we take a look through, I'll be cutting off the upper left portion of the book. Once again, we're not going to be looking at each and every page, but I do want to get a good feel for what's in Tome of Beasts 3. Took me a second to get those 3 fingers out. Wait, Jeff, that was 6. Those were 6 fingers. 3 layers. Take a look at the back. Oh, I should also point out, these are adventures in here. So if you are a player, you're hoping your dungeon masters going to get their hands on Lairs. Maybe they already have Tome of Beasts 3 and the Lairs edition with that. You might want to tune out because you don't necessarily want to ruin the surprises. Fearsome foes in every corner. An abandoned bardic college plagued by alluring ghostly music. A remote woodland guarded by overgrown carnivorous denizens. An ancient volcano awakened by an extraplanar portal at its heart. Inside, you'll find these 3 adventures and 20 more, created for the 5th edition of the world's first role-playing game. Well, what would that be? Dope! These 23 standalone single map adventures each feature new monsters from Kobold Press's. Jeez, Jeff. Come on, man. Take a sip. Kobold? Yes. Yes, this is from Cabal. It was a cabal of writers who put this together. These adventures each feature new monsters from Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts III. Weave these adventures into your ongoing campaign or use them as thrilling one-shot sessions with adventures suitable for heroes level 1 to 12. You'll find enough dangers and delights for every game night. Yes. Let me. They thought I was just doing my posh accent. Yes, because I certainly have a posh accent. As Coco B mentions Kurt Russell. Yes, actually, Kurt Russell was a child star, more of a teen star too. And thankfully, he did not go the way of many others. Although I'm sure he partied quite a bit. I kind of get the feeling he still parties quite a bit. All right, so we've got a lot of designers. We've got a lot of artists here as well. I'm not going to go through and read all of them. Got to be, it's like 25 in total. And of course, I would butcher their names anyway. So even with my posh accent, yes. Doug Roberts mentions Robert Blake. Well, Robert Blake was normal up to a point. Jackie Cooper was another child actor who ended up continuing on as an actor into his adulthood. In fact, his late adulthood. He was an old man and was still in movies and TV shows and that. And he was a normal guy. So there was that. Rapscallion J is with us in chat. All right, so we've got our table of contents. Tome of Beasts 3 Lairs contains 23 short-form adventures that feature new creatures from the Tome of Beasts 3. Each adventure is intended to take 1 or 2 sessions to complete and includes a map, adventure hooks, and treasures for your adventurers. To run each of these adventures, you'll need the core rulebooks of the 5th edition of the world's first role-playing game, or the System Reference Document 5.1. Kind of interesting how they mentioned that. You normally don't see that. You normally don't see the SRD being mentioned. That you could certainly use the SRD to run anything that's Well, a lot of games have SRDs that are available for them. So we've got a table of contents with all of the various different adventures. Looks like each of the adventures gets a little bit of a summary here as well. Let's see what we can do here. So starting off first level, and we're going to go up to 12th level. We have Proud Heart's Predator Problem. We're talking about the Predator from the movies Predator, because I don't think 4 to 5 first level characters are going to be able to handle that. Which actually leads me to a thought that please remind me when we're done taking a look at this, in case I forget. Because reading that had something pop into my head, and I'm kind of curious. People in chat and, of course, in the comment section, you can let me know. Anyway, all right, the adventure background. Every year, halfling farmer Grumbo Proudheart, hey everybody, I'm Grumbo Proudheart, enters his animals into the Halfling Wool-Off, a competition that attracts fellow farmers from throughout the region. Competition includes 5 categories: long wool, medium wool, fine wool, goat's wool, and lamb's wool. Grumbo has won the lamb's wool competition in the last 3 years. Recently, he's developed his goat breeding program and could now also win in that category. So what's going on? Did somebody steal his goat? Oh, it's an unseen predator menacing his flock. Yes. So here is the map of the farm. So I would take a guess. So we've got 164 pages. Each of these adventures probably clock in around 5 pages or so. Be my guess. Maybe a little more, a little less, depending on how extensive the adventure is. Flights of the Dromedaries. This is 4 to 5 characters of 2nd level. Tasnim Azul, lawful neutral dwarf veteran, a tall, eagle-eyed woman. Hey, what? I thought she's a dwarf. So is it a dwarf or is it a tall, eagle-eyed woman with braided black hair, looking to hire capable guards to defend the caravan she's leading across the desert to the city of Honest? Kind of a generic setup there, I would think. Fuhrer in the farmyard. Yeah, a lot of farming adventures so far. Farm-related adventures. This is also for 2nd level. Following his escape from the local magistrate's cells, the bandit Shen Albeck and his gang holed up in the Hundeldell family's farmhouse while they wait to escape the area under cover of darkness. Family fled to the nearby village of Vanderwyn before the bandits moved in, but in the chaos of their rush to escape, they realized too late that their oldest child, Christoph, had somehow gotten off their cart and had been left behind. Christoph is unarmed and is being kept prisoner under guard in his bedroom. Shanna hopes he can trade the boy's life for his freedom should all other avenues of escape be lost. Kind of curious. So I wonder how the player characters get involved in this. So we do have some adventure hook info there. Sarah D says, tall for a dwarf? Could be. Maybe that's it. That's a possibility. Perkins Dearborn says, Home Alone. Perkins says, that might be a fun adventure as a kid player character. Kevin! I mean, Christoph! Where's Christoph? Where's Christoph? All right, here's a confession. I have only seen parts of Home Alone, and I have never seen Home Alone 2. And nor do I have any desire to. Which is funny because I love Christmas Story. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Salvage at Lonely Cove. This is for second level as well. Finlay Barrett was a notorious pirate and smuggler who sails the seas in his ship, the Dead Reckoning. Barrett was an old salt, but even the most seasoned sailor runs afoul of nature. The Dead Reckoning was wrecked during a terrible storm, and part of the ship and its cargo are now washed ashore in Lonely Cove, an isolated strip of beach at the base of towering sandstone cliffs. Word spreads quickly about the wreck. Ambitious souls move quickly to gather what they can of whatever valuables Barrett was carrying. Time is of the essence, because the next high tide or storm could carry away any treasures currently in Lonely Cove. Interestingly enough, that would happen a lot historically. Like if a ship broke up on the rocks, say like in England, and stuff started washing ashore, it would bring out the local villagers to go grab what they could. Automated banditry is for third level characters. So Coco B says they never saw the Home Alone movies until they had kids. That might be it too. So Doug Roberts says, I know what it's like. They're always home alone. So Rapscallion J is asking, are these adventures without stat blocks? Well, you got to remember that this features creatures from Tome of Beasts III. So you do need to have Tome of Beasts III. I will take a guess that we'll probably see a bestiary at the end of the book. Maybe. I don't know. It could be like, well, you want stat blocks, kids. You got to make sure that you're picking up Tome of Beasts 3. Perkins asked if I've ever seen Frozen. I have not. I have not seen it. It's not something I have anything against. The Macville Artisan Academy is a respected institution, but a harsh one to attend. Its tuition inevitably beggars students, while recent graduates find that all of their creations are confiscated by the university upon graduation for reasons unknown. Wait a second, is this Trump University they're going to? 3 recent graduates without job prospects, crippling debts, and none of the creations they've toiled on opted to turn to banditry. They stole their creations back from the university and fled into the countryside, using their constructs to rob merchants in order to pay off their debts. Though they haven't harmed their victims so far, their actions have drawn the attention of the town of River's End, whose economy relies on such merchants passing through. It looks like this is their lair here. So, of course, I'm skipping pages in that. I'm just kind of trying to jump to each of the adventures to kind of give you a synopsis of what each adventure might happen to feature. Evil Rises. So this isn't a bakery. Gotta be. There you go. The Bakery Drake, Amaranth, is the darling of the local upper crust. No pun intended. Since her arrival in the city, the baked goods she crafts have sold well among the nobility and other wealthy citizens. Her culinary craft has been in high demand, and the Drake herself is known to be an excellent conversationalist and an appealing figure to invite to high-profile events. So they say Drake. Is she a drake? Like a reptilian creature drake? Or is that some sort of a honorific of some sort? Flaming Aaron says, the puns. So Perkins points out that kid movies have simple plots and ideas can be stolen for role-playing game adventures by reskinning them. See, that was actually along the lines of what I was going to ask once we've taken a peek through here. Along the lines, not quite. So Perkins says Moana, I should say. I think that's it. Moana. Frozen, Frozen 2, Frog Princess. Why stop there? Steamboat Willie? I stole all the plot points from Steamboat Willie for my role-playing games. So what's the deal here? What happens? Oh, I guess there's a ghost. All right, so let's see what this... so she's a drake. It's got to be it. I was curious. Like gargoyle there. Okay, so didn't see any stat blocks, but this looks like this is a pretty short adventure too. 4-part harmony for 3rd level characters. 3 days ago, an orphan named Budeniek entered the haunted Heinrich Bardic College, goaded by the gang he was with to sneak inside. When Budeniek didn't come back, most of the other youths blew off his absence, save for a few friends who grew worried for his safety. Held back by superstition, they have not risked going in after him, believing Budeniek was taken by a spirit of the college. And they're right. The ghost of the college's founder, Mikolaj Heinrich, has captured and possessed Budeniek. Now Heinrich's ghost works Budeniek to the bone to finish his life's work. If the ghost succeeds, he believes he shall have eternal rest despite the cost Budeniek's life. Dun, dun, dun. So Perkins is talking about creating adventure hooks and how difficult it can kind of be get a solid hook for players to bite into. Personally, I don't think it's as difficult as people think, because the players are around the table, and for the most part, if you've got a good group, they want to play. They know if they don't take the bait, tain't going to be playing role-playing games tonight, Dooley. So I don't think it's as difficult as some people think. Making the hook memorable, where it's not just another, well, you're sitting in this tavern and a fight breaks out or somebody approaches you or, things like that. Making a memorable hook, that can be difficult. So we have Harvest Fangs. We got quite a few adventures for 3rd level here. In the small farming village of Sycamore Crossing, this year's harvest is inexplicably failing. Faced with starvation or worse, what would be worse than starvation? Are we going to go all Donner Party here? The villagers have fallen under the fell sway of Sheriff Elos promises a full harvest if the village sacrifices living subjects to the earth they till. Hey, just bust out the wicker cage. We're all good. So Perkins says, yep, that's exactly actually what I was just saying about hooks is what they meant. The farmers have already kidnapped 2 travelers and fed them to a strange living plant creature in the woods. What was the name of the plant in... Oh, now I can't even remember the damn name. Little Shop of Horrors. Audrey. Wasn't it Audrey? Audrey 2? I think it was Audrey 2. There you go. You got a guest appearance of Audrey 2 in this. The positive results on the crops were noticeable immediately, and so now even the local druid and the village priest have agreed to go along with Ialos's dark solution. Last night, a traveler named Renes Aldebrand came to the village and was taken prisoner by the growing cult. I would say they should try to take the player characters prisoner. Wouldn't that be it? There you go. There's the plant creature. We've got the Pavilion of Whispers and Wonderment. Tucked into the Feylands is the Pavilion of Whispers and Wonderment, a magical building formed of softly glowing amber bubbles, tiny bubbles in the wine. Amber bubbles resting upon titanic lily pads, where it floats on the surface of a wide lake of unmatched beauty. An arcing bridge connects the pavilion to the mist-shrouded shoreline. Hmm, okay. Kind of a cool location there. So Doug says, I can't speak for everyone, but they're the one who makes things more difficult than what they actually are. You're one of those players, eh? Oh, geez, what the hell is that thing? Fluffy's room. That must be Fluffy. Rainforest Reckoning. So we're now into 4th level adventures. The small riverside jungle village of Bukafa is being menaced by hostile fae. At first, it was just a herd of tiny rainforest fae playing mischievous pranks on the villagers who were felling trees in the jungle. Now something much worse is killing and eating Bukafa's inhabitants. Well, maybe you shouldn't have been chopping down those trees. Safe and sound. Baysboro is a stopping point for merchants and others traveling along the major trade route that runs through the city. Its economy is reliant on the constant flow of people coming and going, but that is currently threatened by a creature that has begun terrorizing travelers in the area. And that looks like that's the creature's lair. Gee. Pretty wild looking. I believe that's a goblin. So, Flame Heron says, as far as being a difficult player, as Doug had pointed out, Flaming Heron says, as long as you aren't one of them with extensive backstories where I need to constantly be referring back to them. Yeah. You know what I like to do if somebody's like all like backstoried up, which I usually don't allow my players to get too crazy, but it wasn't too long ago I was running something and I allowed everybody to roll up their characters remotely. And then I was getting this big long backstory. So I'll let you guess which was the character who died first. Like, I am not rearranging this entire adventure so we can like sit there and make sure that it you know meshes with your backstory. One of these game masters was like, I do not give a shit about the player character's backstory. Unless it's something that we've all come up together with, then that's fine. But when somebody shows up to your your latest session with a character that they've like handcrafted and come up with a 32-page backstory of, you know, new. So Madman says that his Savage Worlds group always keeps him on his toes because they rarely do what's expected. 90% of what the Madman does is made up on the fly, which is the case with a lot of people, which makes you a good game master. Lord Gorgo's Keep, Spiteful Keep, sits atop a small peak near a trade road. Road is spelled amid a small forest. It is the home of an ogre artisan of the arcane who self-styles himself as Lord Gorgo. Only the bravest or most desperate dare to seek audience with the ogre. Pretty cool map. A cool looking map there. And there is our ogre. Gotta admit, not too keen on that. It's like, okay. But as we can see, I mean, there is artwork throughout. We're just kind of skipping through a lot of it. But one thing I always like about the Kobold Press releases, not only are they fun, And in fact, somebody had left, I think it was a couple of people actually, had left comments on the Shadow of the Dragon Queen review talking about how the best 5e content right now is coming out from Kobold Press. So I would probably agree with them on that too. Flaming Heron points out that what I was talking about characters in my Dragonlance review says, I totally agree with. Are we talking about the dungeon masters being too scared to actually kill off player characters? Because if a game master is unwilling to kill off a player character ever, then there really are never any stakes. Your players will realize that no matter how badly they play or screw up or come up with a dumbass plan, that nothing will ever come of it. So Flaming here says, yep, that's it. Try not to spoil it for people. All right, what did we just skip through to? Or is this just a pretty long? Oh, here we go. Incident at Rackwater. Far from the cold, rocky coastline lay the oft fog-bound port of Rackwater Cove. Once a tiny frontier furrier outpost, Rackwater has grown to become a burgeoning trade port. So when the town's lighthouse beacon inexplicably goes out during the month in which the season's first merchant ships are due to arrive, the townsfolk deployed maintenance teams immediately, who never returned. Rapscallion J says, yes, 100%. There needs to be consequences to player characters' actions. Plus, the point I was making, and by all means, check out the review if you're interested. A war is going on. And the player characters in Shadow of the Dragon Queen are getting mixed up in this war. And if you are unwilling to kill even a major NPC, because one thing in the adventure I had noticed, not everything, but it was like the authors were reluctant to kill off NPCs, named NPCs. It's kind of like, if this is a war, you gotta make this a war. So we've got the Lost Forge. This is for 5th level. High in an alpine forest lie the remains of a temple that was dedicated to dwarven gods of fire and forge. The site was abandoned by its creators after a horrific dragon attack, which left most of the stone walls devastated by dragon fire. The dwarves felt this place had been cursed, and so this site became known as the Lost Forge by the local villagers, who have long spun stories of the dwarven ghosts that haunt it. So obviously enough, the player characters are going to go check that out. Jay says they've run Forbidden Lands and it doesn't shy away from killing player characters. Well, no role-playing game rule book ever tells you that you should, don't kill your players. Oh, don't kill your player characters. I would hope you wouldn't kill your players. But as Jay points out, the stickers, there are like gravestone stickers in the box sets to mark where your players died. The monstrous machinations of Margrave Millard. Margrave Millard always had a fascination with monsters, even as a child. This was a harmless fascination till he inherited his estate and met researcher Voss. The pair shared an interest, and while Millard loved the power and primal strength of monstrosities, Voss loved the act of creation, idolizing the wizards who created creatures like the owlbear. The two believed each was capable of achieving their goals, that Voss would create great and terrible creatures to unleash upon the world, and that Millard would become one of the monsters he so idolized. So take a stab. Maybe maybe Millard has been turned into something less than scary. I don't know. We'll find out. Flaming Heron says, unfortunately, dungeon masters or game masters overall are all too willing to fudge dice rolls. I've done it. Well, okay, I don't really fudge dice rolls, but I do make phony dice rolls. I like to make phony dice rolls. I'll ask a player something. They give me an answer, and then I'll roll dice, and they'll be like, what was that for? And be like, don't worry. Don't worry about it. The Green Sanctum. The halfling Zelen Barishka adventured during most of her early adulthood, growing in power as a druid as she traveled the world and fought monsters. Her true passion involved the study of plants, and she had occasion to note unusual species thriving in hidden locations or driven to near extinction because of the danger they posed to nearby settlements. She cataloged those plants' locations and vowed to return to retrieve, rescue, and study them. So is she hiring the player characters to go and get them? Possibly. The Salons of Mother Celeste. So is that the ship's name? Nope. Sorry. The fur trader Whippet has been lost, presumably due to a non-functioning lighthouse. Yeah, we're having some lighthouse problems in these adventures. And the foggy shoals outside Rackwater Cove. See incident at Rackwater. So this is a follow-up to that. That's kind of funny. Rackwater locals have recently found confirmation of a nearby wreck location. Undoubtedly, it's the Whippet, but the ship's investors and underwriters must have incontrovertible proof. They're also eager to recover some specific items that will confirm, document, and perhaps mitigate their financial losses. There you go. This is for 8th level characters. Like this might be a little bit of a longer adventure too. Chaos at the Caldera. Centuries ago, the great worm red dragon, not even going to try to pronounce that, layered at the heart of Mount Sagar. Mount Sagar was one of 2 small adjacent twin volcanoes at the edge of large mountain range near the coast, the other being Mount Magra. Adventurers slew the dragon in a climactic battle, or I should say cataclysmic battle, which caused Sagar to erupt, killing them and everything else for miles. It looks like there's some sort of a rift. Players need to close the Eclipsed Chapel for 9th level adventurers. The Eclipse of the Sun Chapel is a legend shared across generations. In the story, a priesthood devoted to the sun god Kors, from the Midgard World Book, lost their home when ooze cultists attacked during an auspicious solar eclipse. God, I hate those ooze cultists. The cult defiled the chapel, creating a planar gate from which oozing horrors spilled forth. Obviously, because they're ooze cultists. Amidst the massacre, a cleric sacrificed themselves. Kind of odd way to put it. To seal the portal and block part of the chapel with a magical wall. But the damage was done and the chapel was lost. Now a 3rd generation painter named Paul is visited by an angel who shows him visions of his ancestor at the chapel's fall. The angel then anoints Paul, blessing him with divine authority and proclaiming him an apostle. That usually doesn't work out well. Chosen to reconsecrate the chapel through the working of a miracle. As outlandish as this may seem, Paul accepts his charge with conviction and sets forth on his quest. So is he going to hire the player characters to protect him, possibly? This is actually another of the longer adventures. The Twisted Sanctuary. The Veiled Mannequin is a tailor shop for discerning customers run by the gnome courtier, Yofi Warhouse. Unbeknownst to the inhabitants of the city, Yofi and her halfling assistant neighbor guard the secret entrance to the Twisted Sanctuary, safe house of a Rakshasa cult hidden in the heart of the city. So I'll take a guess that the player characters need to save somebody. So Coco B says they play with gamers from the 80s. Death is always a dice roll away. Always have a backup handy. Yeah, I mean, usually what I would do is, because gotta remember, I mainly run Call of Cthulhu. It's only probably in the last, 8 years that I've kind of branched out a little bit. I'll run a little bit of something here, a little bit of something there. But what I would usually do in a Call of Cthulhu adventure is if one of the player characters bought the farm. And I'll be the first to admit, when I was running Call of Cthulhu adventures all the time, and we're talking like twice a week, which I did for years, I didn't kill off player characters that often. But there was always a possibility, and it did happen. So my players knew that, it wasn't like, oh, Jeff's going to cut us some break here. No, Jeff was not going to cut them some break. A Midnight Ride is for 11th level characters. A strange black horse draped in silver chains has been seen in the woods and fields around the small farming village of Dairymead. The locals claim it is a puka. Are we talking about the same kind of puka? It's Puca. And they're certain it will run off with their children. More concerning, however, is the group of cultists trying to get their hands on the puka and use it to gain access to the other planes. The cultists have claimed an old barrow near Dairymead for themselves and scour the roads and forests day and night in hopes of finding the beast. Nah, must be the barrow. Map of the barrow. That's some cool artwork. I think that's supposed to be one of the cultists. Down in the Dark of the Deep King's Domain for 12th level characters. Down deep in the depths of the world, among twisting natural caverns where bioluminescent fungi shine as motes of light in the darkness, lies the lair of the Deep King. A pervading gloom lingers there, an unseen weight pressing down upon mind and soul. Long ago, some forgotten crafters carved pillars into the walls of great cavern as the heart of a new subterranean hold. The pounding of their mallets echoing through the dark brought forth the cave sovereign, a fell alien intelligence that consumed their spirits and transformed their bodies into mindless husks. Today, the Deep King hunts the world below, feeding on the spiritual essence of its victims and dragging their bodies back to its lair. So there is the map for that. I think that might be the last of our adventures. It is. So then, of course, we get an ad for Tome of Beasts III, which you may recall I did a first look video of very recently. There's the Midgard World book, which I have reviewed, and it's excellent. Deep Magic and Vault of Magic, Tales from the Shadows. So, Tales from the Shadows and Book of Ebon Tides, as well as City of Cats, all have reviews on the horizon. So Perkins says, I thought it was a puka. I think they're two different things, but I think it's pronounced the same way. I might be wrong. So anyway, I will have a review of Tome of Beasts 3 Lairs in the very near future. Once again, this 162-page hardcover is available for an MSRP of $39 $24.99. Grab the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. Let's swing on over to the other camera. Pretty long show tonight. And, we're hanging out, having fun. Right? I don't have to be anywhere, right away. So, here's what I was going to ask. And by all means, chime in chat. If you happen to watch this after the stream ends, feel free to comment in the comment section. So I'm kind of curious, have you ever, if you run role-playing games, have you ever included real or fictional characters? I guess I'll say fictional characters, which was somebody else's creation. So as an example, way back in the day when I ran D&D, my game kind of took place on the world of Nawan, Fritz Leiber's Alankmar stories with Boffer and the Grey Mouser. And the player characters would encounter Fofford and the Grey Mouser from time to time. But it was usually just in the city, in the, trying to remember the name of the tavern that the two of them frequent all the time. Something Eel. I don't think it's Slippery Eel, but it's something Eel, if I remember correctly. So I was kind of curious how many of you out there have taken fictional characters from someplace else and included them into your games. So Coco B is pointing out they were trying to find Harvey on one of their streaming services after the last episode of the Dispatch, and we were talking about pukas, but it was not available it was nowhere to be found. I was going to say, yes, Mr. Eddie T just mentioned it's on Amazon for $3.99. So I wonder, so Mr. Eddie T says it's on Amazon Prime. Is it on Amazon Prime or is it on Amazon to rent? So, yes, okay, there we go. Wow, that kind of stinks that nobody's got it to stream. I don't know. So anyway, I was just kind of curious if, Perkins says they had this and friends play demigods using primal order and included these as powers in their game that non-players controlled. So Coco B says, yeah, I didn't want to pay for it. I already pay for their service. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I am not arguing that with you at all. It's also on YouTube to rent. I would take a stab. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, wonky. But I would take a stab that you could probably find it somewhere online to watch for free. Just, I would think. I'm not saying it's on YouTube or anything like that. But just about anything out there, if you look hard enough, you can find it. I'm just saying. But yes, somebody commented on that episode as well, talking about Harvey, saying, oh my God, how great that movie is. And how Jimmy Stewart's character, which funny enough, Jimmy Stewart was always referred to as James Stewart. You never see a film with Jimmy Stewart in it where he is billed as Jimmy Stewart. Because actually, I don't think he liked being called Jimmy. Anyway, Elwood P. Dowd. Or Elwood P. Dodd. I think it's Dowd. So, yeah, sorry, gang. Sorry you don't... I own it. I have it on DVD, so I can watch it whenever the hell I want to. Although I did not watch it the other night. But I said, you know what? I think I'll watch that. All right. So Kathy says they put Greek and Norse gods into a few of their games. So there's a new adventure that include real authors and historic people. I have done that. I've included historic people in Call of Cthulhu games forever. And sometimes just out of nowhere, not having anything to do with the adventure. I think I've mentioned it before. I had my player characters run into Babe Ruth and the Yankees. That the train they were on, the Yankees traveling cars were attached to. So Perkins asked if I know who Zazu Pitts was. Yes, she was a comedian. I can't tell you what she was in. Just like, who was, gosh, I'm trying to remember her name. Tallulah Bankhead. She would show up in things and was like, who is this? Darling. But I was sort of like, what is she famous for? But I guess she was like an actress, and she actually pretty interesting person overall, but kind of like, okay. So all right. So Doctor Who adventures have obviously with historical characters and fictional characters too, of course. So Madman says they've mentioned it before, but they use real people, eyewitness events, troop movements, etc. for a savage weird world war, I would think, right? So here's something else. Oh, so Perkins says Hal Roach had Zazu Pitts in female Laurel and Hardy kind of. So Mr. Eddie T says, I believe he's referring to, God, now I just zone on her name again. Took me a minute to remember it. It's like, wait a second. Tallulah Bankhead. I think Mr. Eddie T is saying she was the senator's daughter and actress. So yes. So yeah, she had one of those voices where it was like, yes, you could tell that she came from privilege, right? So, all righty. Cool deal. All right, that is it for this time out. Tomorrow night, we are actually going to dive on into Lex Arcana, Dacia and Thracia from Archeron Games. So this is another of the Lex Arcana releases that I got. We're going to dive on into that. Archeron has reached out about some Kickstarter stuff. So there is that. Don't want to really get into too much of it yet, but they were kind of curious if I would actually take a peek at some stuff. So I was like, alrighty then. So that's on tomorrow's show. And then on Wednesday, we're going to look at the new edition of Into the Odd, which is available through Free League Publishing. So we'll have that as well. So by all means, if you have not checked out my announcement, please do so. So some changes coming to the Gaming Gang beginning January 1st. It is not bad news. At least in my opinion, it's certainly not bad news. But some major changes going to be taking place. All righty. So, and of course, don't forget, if you want to learn more about the latest D&D release, I have my review of that up today as well. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. Will not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as the aforementioned review of Dungeons & Dragons Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen from Wizards of the Coast. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. All right. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat, a much bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company, especially when I'm reading little adventure backgrounds and not really paying much attention to chat. As Chen, our friend from Taiwan, popped in, I forgot to say hello. Sorry about that. So, a belated hello. Anyway, I know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch this live. It doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Really appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos on this channel. I will be back tomorrow. So everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your part of the world. And I certainly hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.